for as long as collegiate athletics and competitive sports has been around, there has been a necessity to prepare for the demands of sport. So for decades and going on a century, uh, people have tried to prepare in different ways, different methods and mechanisms have been used. So this research that I'm presenting to you today encompasses two different periodization models that can be applied to sports, team, or individual based. Within this experiment, 112 collegiate athletes ranging from ages of 18 to 25 were selected through a criteria maintaining that they had been training for a while, that they did not have any chronic injuries that would disallow them from being able to complete the extent of the intervention or program that they were selected for. So in each program, the duration lasted for 12 weeks, and the program had a frequency of 3 days per week, with the at-large independent variable being the relative intensity and how it was progressed through the 12-week cycles. So of these two interventions, you have an undulating model and a linear model of relative intensity progression. So if we look over to figure 1, you'll see this in more of a illustrated manner, that linear periodization starts with a high number of repetitions that is completed on a daily basis. And as the 12 weeks progresses, the weight or intensity or load of exercises increases in an inverse fashion or reverse fashion. So as the reps come down, the weight goes up. Now, conversely, we have undulating periodization, where the volume and intensity correlate or respect one another inversely. However, it is not as one direction, right? There are undulations or waves in which volume and intensity, or reps and weight, are varied. Okay, so in this study, the tests are listed in table 1 as well as the results. So we have a well-rounded base of tests that test different dimensions of fitness or athletic preparedness, power, strength, endurance, as well as hormonal response, cortisol, a stress hormone that undoes anabolic or muscle growth processes. So outside of these objectives means, we also were able to test for subjective means as far as the psychological state of athletes undergoing each model. All right. So with these tests, we were able to accomplish our specific aims or purpose of the experiment or research, which was to evaluate, the performance metrics of athletes, as well as being able to see how each individual athlete reacted to the training stimuli in a physical sense as well as a mental sense, right? So it's very important. If you know anything about collegiate athletics, you know that the training can be rigorous and that there is a mental stressor involved with that, right? And what we were also able to see was how the mental stressors accumulate and can really lead to, higher risk of injury. So we took these results and used statistical approaches of t-tests that measured how how accurate the tests were in relation to the far overreaching population of athletes worldwide, right? Because obviously limitations of this test were that only athletes at the University of Florida were selected, and this was just in order to maintain a consistent testing environment, because lab environments can vary from university or from facility to facility. All in all, this test demonstrated what is largely known about undulating versus linear periodization, and that is that while there are few differences and discrepancies between each, undulating does seem to have a larger return on investment in terms of the work and time used for preparation. Now, what is interesting and how it applies to the field is that we saw in the profile of mood states used for psychological testing that there was a lower stress response via questionnaires given on a not daily basis, but 3 times per week. So each day that there was training, the questionnaire reflected that there were less feelings of anxiety related to undulating periodization. Now, this is relevant and important because with less anxiety and stress, there is a concomitant decrease in risk of injury. Right? So this is how this research can pertain to the developing field of periodization models. And that is the presentation. So thank you for your time.